Welcome to October in Bulgaria, my favourite month because it's still glorious sunshine. The mozzies are pretty much gone and it's just gorgeous. You've got that kind of like summer to autumn mix, so the leaves are changing colour, but it's still glorious sunshine. And yeah, my absolute favourite. So today we are going to talk about a few kind of common questions that I get asked through the emails or YouTube or Instagram about buying property. We know a lot more now. Things have changed a lot probably since previous videos. So this is a 2023 edition. Your questions answered on buying property in Bulgaria. Okay, coming to you from under the pear tree. I want to include a little bit of a backstory as the reason why I'm going to keep harping on about location. We talk about location being the most important thing in our downloadable buying guide in Bulgaria that you can get from our website by signing up to our newsletter. I don't spam you. We do newsletters probably once every 2 months or something like that. So anyway, we personally did not use the advice I'm about to give you, and this is why I'm giving you this advice. We bought in Bulgaria on a whim. We begged family to borrow some money for us to just get something that we could own in this country before Brexit, because we knew we couldn't and didn't want to live in the country we were in or in the UK. So we rushed, we found something. We did visit it in person, couldn't see a thing because of how much it had overgrown, but we saw the view. We knew it was half an hour's drive from a city that we liked, and we bought it. We feel genuinely the luckiest people on earth, because this village, and we've seen lots of villages now in this region, can't speak for the whole country, I still genuinely believe we have the prettiest village. So I can't tell you how lucky we are to have this place. However, we bought before we were having a baby, and our priorities have changed, okay? So we're going to have to move, and this video isn't about our, sort of personal vlog as such, but it's really important to let you know that you've got to really think about location, because of not just now, but maybe your 5-year or your 10-year plan. Anything can change. Now, I don't drive. I started to learn to drive when we bought this property because I knew I'd have to. Then the pandemic hit. I was 5 lessons in, terrified of driving. Long story short, had to all stop, and now I'm terrified again and have a baby, and it's impossible. I'm in a quandary because I can't put him in childcare so I can drive, because I can't get him to childcare without driving. And even if we could solve problems and get that to happen, because it's not right also for Hudson. He can't drive for the next 16 years. There's no children in this village. I don't see there being children in this village for his sort of young years as such, unless we suddenly get an influx, please. But I want him to be able to jump on a bike, go to a park, be with a load of kids, be closer to schools, be closer to shops. But I still want the rural. I still want to have this feeling that we have by being here. And there are villages that can give you the best of both worlds. So that's going to be what we're going to do. So the reason why I've told you that is because anything can change. We do meet people that have bought here. They're not happy with the area. They're trying to resell a house. Or things have changed personally in their lives and they decided that they can't be here anymore. Anything can happen. So this is so important to get the location right. We're not just talking about, do you like it? Is it accessible? Is it close to places you want to be close to? Does it give you views or close to water or wherever, all the things that you want out of maybe living in a country like here? We also want you to really, really think and research and visit in person and get a feel for the place. Because you can always change your house or find a house, but you can't change the location. You might hear me say that a few times here. There are some areas still in this region that potentially you're not going to see price increases. Prices have really increased over the few years that we've been here. As a general rule, you're still going to get pockets of areas that for whatever reason aren't going to increase in price. It could be because high crime rate. It could be because maybe too high an expat community. I've mentioned before that sometimes the more expensive areas are owned by Bulgarians as their holiday homes or guest houses, for example. It also could be that it's an area that the government doesn't invest in, so the roads are bad and water supply is not great, etc. All this stuff's really, really, really important. We know of villages that only get public water like 2 hours a day, okay? So all of this stuff is going to affect resale, and you might think, oh well, I'm going to get a house and that's going to be my forever home. I don't think anyone can ever say that truly. Anything can change, and I think you've got to really, really heed our advice. And when I say our advice, it's not us. We work with Veselin Valchev of Ideal Homes in Veliko Turnova, who's been doing this for 15 years, or maybe more. Forgive me, Veselin, if I've got the number wrong. Very, very knowledgeable on location. He is not going to sell a property in certain areas if he feels they're not right for you. He's not going to sell you a property that he knows you can't resell, because it's not worth his time and it's wasting your time, because you're going to get stuck with something that if anything changes, or you don't like it, or you don't like who you're nearby, or all these things, all of that has really, really got to come first, not the house. I feel like we have to tell people this to Wibbler in the face. People are focusing too much on the house and not the location. Of course, house is important, but you can always change your house, not the location. 9 and 10, ready or not, here I come. Where could he be? Is he behind the tree? No. Ooh, what's this big blue thing under the chair? He found you. So I'm hiding behind the apple tree. I think he knows where I am because he cheats. He doesn't count to 10 and he cheats. He doesn't quite get hide and seek just yet. Found me. Yeah, so for now, like, we now need to know on our next search for a location, accessibility, public transport, younger families, freedom for Hudson as he gets older. That is now our requirements, alongside the original want and desire to be here, close to nature, grow our own food. All of that hasn't gone away, but we have to change the priorities. So we're on the lookout for something that can meet all that criteria. Obviously, you've got to compromise somewhere, but that's the important thing for the next 10-year plan for us. So yeah, basic checklist. Close to amenities, public transport required. Who is in the village? Do you want to be near expat communities? Do you want to be middle of nowhere with no neighbours? Do you want to really get immersed in the local cultures and be more in a Bulgarian traditional village? All of that stuff. And resale value. We haven't got resale value in our guide that you can download. I might have to update that. But yeah, really, really ask and take advice with that. I also just want to talk a little bit about the process and our involvement, because obviously we're fairly new to this, and we, I would say we're more client focused. So I'm maybe on the emails, Lee's on WhatsApp. Lee's the one you meet in person if you want to come over, and he will take you out and show you areas and properties. And then Veselin, our business partner, is certainly there very much to meet with you and chat around the logistics, time frames, fees. He is the guy that's going to do the negotiation with owners. He is the guy that's going to be really honest with you about pricing, location, etc. And subsequently, if you also want to chat to him about residency, about visas, he's the guy and all of that. Utility companies, you know, he's just the top guy to help with all of those things that are going to be required. So Our involvement is I say client liaison, I suppose. But it works well. But please, we can't comment on so well on house prices because we don't know as much as our partner does. So this is why Lee and Veselin of Ideal Homes in Veliko Tarnovo are a great team, because Lee is really great in a property viewing to be able to give you ideas for the house. You can knock that wall down, or that roof doesn't look as bad, or the kind of structural stuff, advice on things to think about, how to use the space from a house perspective. And Veselin is phenomenal with the location, honesty, all of that support. So as a team, they work really well. In regards to fees, it's one agency fee. You're not paying for both of our services. It's still the same agency fee. And I'm going to talk about fees a little bit in this video, and with a little bit of a breakdown, but things change. So this is the current state. So any pricing given in this video is current. Things are always changing. But generally, the fees for the buyer for any property is 2% of the house value with a €500 minimum. And that's all you're paying for their services, to give you advice, property viewings, floor plans, and really helping you move here as well. Some of these sort of subjects might blend into each other. So talking about fees, just to give you an idea. So you've got the 2% of the house value, or €500 minimum for the agency fees or commission, however you want to view that. You've then got, I would say, roughly 5% of the house value for all your notary, court, municipality, all the fees involved around the actual house sale. You've got €250 fee for the preparation of the deed. You potentially could have a fee of around €150 if you need to set up a power of attorney, and that's something I'm going to talk about, a question in regards to remote buying. Hold on. And secondly, the most important thing is company acquisition. So everyone who is not an EU citizen has to have a company to buy property with land. The cost for the company is €500, but with that you also have to open a Bulgarian bank account.
Pockets.
And camera in my pocket. I will do that in 1 minute. The bank's rules change daily, the bank's prices change daily, so factor in a couple of €100, maybe more, but that's the rough prices. I have a tail in my face. And just to add really quickly around the process, if you really love a property and you want to get it off the market quickly, then generally the rule of thumb is it's about 10% for deposit, and that will be handed over alongside the signing of a preliminary contract. So that's the important thing to get done straight away if you really want something. Generally after that process, it should be quite quick to get the actual full sale completed. So that's going to depend on if you're relying on power of attorney to get it done, whether you've got to fly back over and get all the paperwork signed. It's up to you. Just a couple of weeks maybe it can be done in. Now there are some situations where it can be slower. Sometimes there might be not issues with paperwork, but things that need to be resolved, or it could be perhaps there was a death in the family and there's a will needs sorting out, or I'm just sort of thinking of things that could happen. Sometimes land registry maps have not been done correctly based on the sketch and the original deed, and there's some things that need tidying up, let's say. And sometimes you don't know this until the process has started. It's still going to be a hell of a lot quicker than house sales in the UK and all the searches and what goes on with that. But generally it can be done quite quickly and smoothly. The big one is we get asked a lot about how you can purchase property remotely. Now, it's possible, but we would recommend, ideal scenario is you come over, spend a week, 10 days, however long you can manage, really sussing out the locations. We can show you all of the properties within your budget at different levels of finish in different areas, so you can really get a feel for where you like. We would start the process of the company acquisition, the bank account, And then if you haven't necessarily found a property in that time, which you may well not do, then if you want to, you can assign us as a power of attorney, and therefore if you find something remotely through us afterwards, we're able to sign in the documentation on your behalf because you've done all the work. We would think that's ideal. You've been in person, you've checked the current state of a property that you like, you're checking out the location, you know what you're getting. There are ways around it. If you've got a real trusted friend or family member over here and you found a property remotely, your friend or family member or trusted person can basically do it all for you, get a company in their name, buy the property in that company, and therefore when you're ready you can transfer a property from one company to another. So that would be a way of doing it remotely if you're unable to visit in person. However, we personally wouldn't recommend that unless we want you to come and visit. We want you to check out the areas and get everything right at first time. Big subject, pay monthlies. So many people ask for pay monthly properties, and I get it. What a fantastic way of getting a property out here if you don't have a big lump sum of money. Wonderful. There are companies out there, and it is a great business model. They buy a cheap property, they do it up, they sell it on a pay monthly because they own the property. The company owns the property. They're going to get regular income. It can span over a 3-year payment plan. Great, they don't have to pay capital gains tax for reselling it, which you would do if you sold it within 3 years. So what a fantastic business model. You've got a regular income, the person gets a house by paying it as they can afford. Wonderful. Trust me, if we had spare capital, we would start doing that. We'd buy a property and we'd sell it on pay monthly, and what a great business model. So there are companies that do that, and if you're looking for pay monthly, go to those companies because that's what they're set up to do. But note a few things. You don't own that house until that final payment is due. You get the keys, you pay a deposit, you sign a contract, but you don't own that house. So all of the process around acquiring a company, that's all done right at the end, however long that payment term is for. So bear in mind that I don't know, because we don't do this business model, I don't know what you're allowed to do to the property. Are you allowed to renovate it, change it? I don't know. That's a question to ask. I do know that if you miss any payments, they will take the whole contract away from you. They will still own the property. You'll have lost all your money. So just a few things to really bear in mind if that's the kind of route that you're going to go down. Any properties that we have on our listings, they really aren't for pay monthly. It's rare to find, I would say, a private seller who's going to be open to it because of these reasons. Prices have changed in the last 3 years since we've been here. Who knows where they're going to be in the next 3 years? It would be rare for a buyer to say, yeah, I'll commit to that price and you can pay monthly over 1, 2, 3 years. Well, they probably won't because they know it could go up, for example. Secondly, some people have said, oh, I'll pay you £500 now and £500 for the next 3 years. Great. What you've got to bear in mind is if that property is through an agent, the agent is going to want his commission. Now, the standard kind of agency commission is 5% of the house value with a minimum of €1,250. That's what's charged. So you've got to have a deposit that's going to cover the commission to the agent from the seller, plus some money for the seller for even committing to it. So you've got to make sure you've got a hefty deposit, otherwise no one's interested. Why would anybody be interested? The agent isn't going to be interested because he's not going to get any commission. He's not going to wait for 3 years to get commission from the property sale. It's just no one's going to want to do it. So you've got to think about it from all the sides. It's great that you want to offer pay monthly, but think about a huge deposit. You've got to think about it being really attractive to a private seller and not a company that's set up to do it that way. So I hope that's really clear. So this is just a little bit of information about people that might be looking to sell their property. There's absolutely no fees to list your property with us, and get in touch if you're interested. We've got quite a large audience now with the YouTube, We've got a mailing list of clients. We've also got our partner's website plus our own website that we can list the property on. The property video viewings, they hit the sort of tens of thousands. So that's some real good reach if you want to advertise your property with us. The fees, should we find you a buyer, is 5% of the property value with a minimum of 1,250. So that's just to give you a guide. Now, we absolutely are not going to list a property without bringing in our business partner Veselin and his experience. What we don't want is someone coming to us with a property, a figure in mind of what they want, which might be unrealistic, and we do not necessarily have the experience that he has on the valuations. So we're not saying, yes, we're going to value your property, and we're not saying we meaning Lee and I, are going to just put it up without any advice. So it's always us as a team. Lee and Veselin will come, have a good look, have a good chat, and give you recommendations on the value of your property. There are situations where people have come to us and sadly perhaps maybe they overpaid in the first instance and they're looking for a figure that just isn't realistic, and we have to be honest and say, look, well, we're not going to list it for what you want it to be listed as. So it's really important to well, this is why it's sort of come full circle to my beginning of the conversation around really knowing resale value and the area that you're in. And also be a little bit wary as potential sellers of property. There's loads of agents here, everyone works really hard. There's also people that, I'm guessing this is normal in the game, which we're fairly new to, but some agents like to overly inflate their evaluations on properties so they get a monopoly of that property from the client. And of course, when it doesn't sell, they say, oh, well, you've got to bring your price down, and then they get them a buyer, but then that sort of eliminates everyone having an opportunity at doing it because they overinflated it in the first place. So if you're finding you're getting some drastically different evaluations from agents, then maybe think about what's their reason for doing that. It's to monopolise that listing, and it's not really necessarily to help you. So that's something to bear in mind as well. Sometimes we've got sort of clients sitting waiting for the right property to show up, and it could be that you have something for sale and it doesn't even make it to the website because we've already got someone that's ready and waiting for something like what you've got. So that's sort of good to know that we've always got a kind of database of people sort of sat waiting for something that's right for them. So just to clarify, it's not just the fact that I can't drive and get Hudson and I out to places. Even if we could perhaps do that, I still feel this village isn't right for us as a younger family. And it's a shame because we came here with all the passion on our channel to help encourage people to come and do the same, to get more younger families out here, which is happening, just perhaps not in the specific place that we live. And when you walk around, you might want to come here for peace and quiet, and trust me, you can get that, and part of me wants that. But when you've spent, I would say 3 years walking around this village twice a day with a buggy or with a little toddler, and you don't meet a person or see a person, it can get extremely lonely. So you sort of have in your head an idea of sort of a life that you want or think you want, but actually it doesn't always become that. So we are going to have to find a village for Hudson and I to not be so remote, to be closer to amenities, closer to other children. So very important. So if you are a young family that think, oh, we're going to come here, we want a homestead, we want to be in the middle of nowhere, great if you've got a whole brood. But if you haven't, I would say really, really think hard about that, just from personal experience.